How much cap space can the Seattle Seahawks create by giving extensions to some of their veteran players? What's going on, everybody? Good morning. Hope you guys are doing well. And it's time for the final part of this three-part series breaking down how the Seattle Seahawks can save money against the 2025 salary cap. And they need to, as I've said the last couple of days. And by the way, if you haven't seen those previous two videos, go check them out now, because you won't be getting a full picture unless you watch all three parts. So 2 days ago, I talked about cuts and trades the Seahawks could make to clear cap space. Yesterday, I did restructures. And today, we are doing the final part, extensions. This video is being powered by BetUS. More on them later. But the Seahawks have some work they need to do, and even though I laid out a lot of opportunities for them to clear out space the last 2 days, they may not be able to get to a place where they're happy with their remaining cap space until they do some extensions. So we're going to spend some time talking about this today. It is the final set of levers that can be pulled. Now, one thing I should say is that there are two types of extensions in the NFL. There are extensions that help clear cap space, and then there are extensions that actually sap a little bit of cap space. So understand that we're going to kind of keep them separate because they're two different considerations. So if I go over to my spreadsheet here, you'll see a list of names that the Seahawks could consider extending this offseason. Now, you will notice that there are quite a few players the Seahawks will consider extending that are not listed here. They're here. They're here in this black square. I'm blocking them out because they don't really pertain to this video, because extending those players would mean that you're taking on an additional cap hit in 2025, even if it's only small. So to keep it focused on the part where we think about creating cap space, we're just going to be talking about really these five guys. These five players are the only real strong considerations for an extension. Maybe if you really wanted to, you could throw Tyler Lockett here, but he is so old and so clearly lacking the attributes that you need to be a really valuable receiver in this league that I don't even think that can be a consideration. I think even thinking about extending Tyler Lockett is like, at that point, you're not even really thinking about football. You're thinking about sentimentality. So keeping it only to the guys who it would make some degree of sense, even if it's only a little bit of sense to extend, you're really just down to these five. So we're going to go through these five players. We're going to talk about what it would take to extend them. And this is where things get goofy, because let's be real here. It's really hard to know what an extension is going to look like in some cases. If you have a player that is in a unique circumstance, then it's really hard to get a comp. And we have some players that I think are in a unique circumstance, so I don't know what an extension is going to look like in all cases. So I'm going to be, in some cases, just kind of throwing out random guesses. You might disagree with what I come up with. That's fine, but understand that it's really hard to know with some of this stuff. All right. So before I get into these numbers, though, I do want to tell you about my friends over at BetUS. And BetUS not only has the best online sportsbook out there, they also have the best online casino you can find. You can take advantage of their great deals over on BetUS. They have slots. They have live casino dealers for games like blackjack. Head on over there and check out their table games. Have some fun and use the sign-up bonus. 200% sign-up bonus up to $5,000, 250% for a crypto sign-up bonus up to $5,000. So plenty of free money to get. Go check out the casino and get the free money and go have some fun gambling, slots, live casino dealers, blackjack, whatever it is you want to do. You can probably do it over at BetUS. All right, back to the numbers here. So the first guy we're going to look at here is Geno Smith. And you might remember Geno Smith was on the cut candidate list. This is the other option. I don't think there is any possibility you let it fly on this final year, $44.5 million. You're extending him or you're moving off of him. And the extension we got to consider a few things, right? So the current cap hit is 44.5 million. Now, the signing bonus is 8.7 and the restructure bonus is 4.8. So that's how we get to our bonus number of 13.5 million. Now, my understanding is that that is the cap that has to go to Gino no matter what in 2025. Even if you let him go, by the way, that's the money that is going to Gino regardless, because that's how bonus money works. So if I have my understanding of the way bonus money works correctly when it comes to an extension, that would mean you need his cap hit in 2025 to get down to at least $31 million. That is the break-even point for his 2025 cap hit to be worth an extension. Because understand, the main reason why we extend him is to get short-term financial flexibility. And the reason why I'm saying that is if you take the cap hit and you subtract the bonus, you get to 31 million. So therefore, if my calculations are correct and my understanding of Gino's contract is correct, which is not necessarily guaranteed, there's a lot of confusing and sometimes conflicting, sometimes hidden information in NFL contracts, we would need his new cap hit to be about 31 million to break even. So we're aiming for lower than that. Now, if I had to guess, a Geno Smith extension would be somewhere around 2 years, 75 million, which would mean the total deal would become 3 years, 120 million. That's 40 million a year. I don't mind doing that. I'm pretty happy doing that. If it goes up to like an extension of 2 years, 80 million, and now you're moving up a little bit, now I'm starting to be a little less happy with it, because now you're talking about an average annual value of about 42 million you're closing in on. I'm less happy with that. I'd still do it. Once you push up past that point where you're talking about maybe 45 million a year on an extension combined with the previous cap hit, that's when I start at least thinking to myself, I think there needs to be a better way. So that's my position on it, but my guess would be a Geno extension is somewhere around 2 years, 75 million. That means you're looking at 40 million per for this year and the following 2 years. And you want to maintain flexibility to move off of him after 2026. So you're going to get that first year cap hit down below 31. But I don't think you're going to get it down that low. You're going to get it down to about 25. So that means you're creating about 6 million in cap space for 2025. That's getting his caps hit down significantly because, again, remember, he's getting the bonus no matter what, if I understand this correctly. So you do that, and now you're talking. Now you've got 6 million in savings. You've got your quarterback locked up to a long-term deal, and you're not paying top of the market money for a quarterback that is, in my estimation, on the level of or better than these quarterbacks that have recently gotten 50, 55, 60 million. Not all of them, but a lot of them. He is older. I think that has to be consideration here with Geno. So I think that brings his money down a little bit compared to those guys. And I think that gets you to the point where you can do it for about 40 million a year on an extension. But if he wanted to ask for 50 or more, I would kind of get it, but I couldn't do it. But that's a conversation for another time. Next guy we have to figure this out for is DK Metcalf. DK Metcalf's cap hit is about 31.9 million. His bonuses combine to about 9.9 million. So that means on a new deal, you would need to get that first year cap hit down to below 22 million in order to break even, basically. If I'm understanding this right. Again, contracts are really confusing. I may have gotten a number wrong. If I did and anybody knows better than me, please let me know down below. But my understanding is the break-even cap hit for DK in 2025 would have to be 22 million. Now, remember, this is a mutually beneficial thing that these teams and players do. The player gets long-term security, and the team gets short-term cap flexibility. So because of that, and because DK didn't have a great season last year, I'm going to go ahead and say, and this is bold, admittedly, I'm going to say the extension for DK Metcalf would be somewhere around 3 years, 88 million, which means if you combine it with his current cap hit, you're looking at a 4-year, 4-year, $120 million deal. So he's making about 30 million a year for the duration of the contract. I think that's actually pretty fair given his production in the last couple of years. It's been good, but it hasn't been great. And while I understand how the league works, I think that there does have to be at least a little bit of a financial penalty for not living up to being a top receiver in this league, and I don't think he has been lately. I think that he's probably a top 20 receiver in the NFL, but barely. So I think there does need to be at least a little bit of a penalty there. So if you get him on that deal, and it's basically a 4-year, $120 million deal, you can easily get his 2025 cap hit down below 22 million. Now, you don't want to go crazy here because you want to maintain flexibility. So maybe you're looking at something like 15 million cap hit in 2025. You could do that pretty easily. There are contracts out there all the time that have an early cap hit of much less than the average annual value. Now, if I forgot any of DK's bonuses, if there's some kind of bonus that we have to bring in here as well, then it becomes harder. Then you're probably looking at only saving a couple million. But let's say I'm correct. You get this down to about 15 million. You're talking about saving 7 million on the DK extension. So doable, workable, and beneficial to both sides. These next two guys, I don't think there's going to be a lot of interest in, but in my estimation, this is the only way you can consider keeping these two guys, Dre'Mont Jones and Noah Fant. I believe both guys are going to get cut. I don't think it's a very hard decision, but let's explore this for at least a minute here. So Dre'Mont's currently on a cap hit of 25.6. I'm suggesting some possibility of giving him a 2-year, $16 million extension. He is fairly young. It's not like Dre'Mont Jones is old. It's not a Tyler Lockett situation. Maybe they go, look, we like you, Dre'Mont. We think you're a pretty good player, but we can't have you on this cap hit. So the idea is we extend you out. You get some long-term security that you're not necessarily going to get on the open market because you haven't been good the last 2 years overall. And this way, we extend things out. Maybe you could even get this down to like 2 years, 15 million. So that way it's 3 years, 40 million for Dre'Mont in total. If you combine his current cap hit with the extension, that's significantly less than his initial deal when he came to Seattle 2 years ago. And you can spread the cap hit out now. So maybe that first year cap hit is only going to be like 8 million now, and you can save 8.5. And that does mean Dre'Mont's going to stick around for a little while, but it's on a much more manageable cap hit. You can spread it out, and you can have a little bit more freedom to have him without it killing you. Right now, the Dre'Mont stuff is killing us. If you do this, it's not killing you. Remember, the cap is going to keep going up. So it's not a terrible idea if you think Dre'Mont Jones can be decent for you. But if you feel like you can get better production out of some day 2 rookie, then I don't think this is worth it. Similar thing for Noah Fant. 13.5 million cap hit, but only 4.5 is guaranteed. So a break-even 2025 cap hit would then be 9 million. So what I'm saying is you offer him a 2-year, $16 million extension. Maybe you could even get that down a little bit. But then you're talking about basically a 3-year, $30 million deal. And that first year cap hit, you could bring it down to like 5 or 5.5 and save $3.5 to $4 million. And that way you're able to keep Noah Fant through the duration of his prime on cap hits that are actually workable, right? Noah Fant at 13.5 million is a no-go. But if you can get Noah Fant down to 10 million a year, with that first year cap hit being like 5.5 or even 5, now you've at least got a leg to stand on here. So I don't think Noah Fant is a bad player. I just think that he is too flawed and hasn't been productive enough to justify the money. So if you do this, you can stretch the money out a little bit more. So what I'm proposing is basically bringing him down the tier list of the highest paid tight ends a little bit and getting him to a point where his production matches his pay. And that way we don't have to go out and get another tight end with Barner. We can roll with Fant and Barner, have some random third string tight end. Maybe it's Brady Russell, it's fine. And that's all we really need to do. Those are both very unlikely. This last one, however, I think is pretty much a guarantee to happen. It's Michael Dickson. And we talked about maybe cutting or trading him, but neither of those things are going to happen. What is going to happen is he's going to get extended, or he should. He is one of the best punters in the league, and we could benefit from clearing a little bit of cap space for him. So currently on a $4.25 million cap hit in 2025. Only 1.3 is guaranteed. So if my calculations are correct, that means the 2025 break-even cap hit would need to be about $3 million. Now, the extension that I estimate for Michael Dickson would be 4 years, $16 million, which, by the way, would be an all-time record for a punter. So he's got nothing to complain about. So 4 years, $16 million. That means an average of $4 million per year. And this is the part that and this is the part where, admittedly, you're not doing a lot, but you are doing a little. You could get that first year cap hit down to about $2 million, and you're saving about $1 million. Doesn't sound like a lot, but you need to extend them anyway. So why not save a little bit of money while you're doing it? So again, these are estimates. These are not locked in guaranteed numbers, but just with doing the extensions that I believe will happen, you're saving about $6 million on Geno. You're saving about $7 million on Metcalf. You're saving about $1 million on Dickson. You're talking about $14 million just from extensions. So that's significant. That matters. That adds up. That is going to drastically reduce the amount of work you need to do with your cuts. And I mean, if you do the math, that gets you, if I'm right about the $35 million number being closer to accurate, you're talking about getting halfway there just with the extensions. Now, there are other extensions we need to take a look at. I'll talk about that in a later video, but for now, I'm just going to go ahead and leave it. That's basically all the Seahawks can do if they want to save money this offseason. They can cut, they can restructure, and they can extend. There are void years, but I kind of talked about that during the restructure video anyway, and I think people kind of get what a void year is. It can happen to anybody at any time, so going down that rabbit hole beyond just explaining it is a mistake. All right, I'm going to go and get out of here. Thank you to BetUS for powering this video. I will see you guys later today. Go Hawks. Keep an eye out for the other extension video coming soon.